Call to order, Town of Prescott Valley, regular town council meeting, January 25th, 2024. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Leyva. Councilmember Greer.
Here.
Councilmember Dickinson.
Here.
Councilmember Hepperly.
Here.
Councilmember Schumacher.
Present.
Vice Mayor Hunt.
Here.
Mayor Palguda.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, I'd like to welcome down Pastor Ken May from Quad Cities for our invocation and our pledge. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Okay, so we will pray and then do the pledge. God, thank you that we get to live in a nation where our voices can be heard, where those who lead and govern are servants of the people. And I pray for your blessings on this body, on the council, on the town. I pray that you would bless them with humility, the humility to be servants acting in the best interests of the people, the humility to acknowledge what they do not know, and to bless them with the wisdom to find and know what they need to know. Give them the wisdom to know the best course of action, the wisdom to know when to say yes and when to say no. I pray that you would bless them with vision to see what lies ahead for the town and to lead the community into a better tomorrow, and a tomorrow that benefits the invisible and the forgotten people in our midst. God, I pray that you would bless them with the courage to act, with the strength of their convictions, and the perseverance to work through whatever challenges they may face in the sacred trust that they have been given. In your son's name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Item 3, Healing Field essay winners, Miss Heidi Foster and Pilar Henry. I believe you'll be coming down to do this presentation. And Supervisor Mary Mallory is here as well.
So let me get the eyes on here. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. Tonight we are here to honor the essay winners for our 2023 Healing Field Essay Contest. The reason we're here in January instead of earlier is because we had so much construction, so now we're here in our regular council chambers and we can honor our winners in public. So I'm not sure, I know Haley's here if you want to come up, Haley. And Belle Mazan, is Belle Mazan here? And Allison Barney. Is Allison here? Okay. Okay. So each year the Healing Field Committee hosts an essay contest for local students. And so this year the theme question was the terrorist attacks of September 11th happened nearly 22 years ago. Why is it important that we remember these attacks and the people who lost their lives? And so our essay winners wrote about the theme of that question, and they did a great job. Many teachers in Prescott Valley bring their classes to the Healing Field each September. So these kids walk through the field and read the biography tags of each person who died in the attacks. This brings the event to life for them, and they write some truly touching essays. So this year we want to thank Liberty Traditional School teachers Douglas Rowe and Ronald Meyer for having their students participate, and we want to thank them. And so this year, well, first of all, I'd like to introduce with me tonight Pilar Henry. She's our volunteer coordinator. We have more than 300 volunteers that help to put the Healing Field up every year. And so she has a huge task, and we're so appreciative of her. And we also have Peggy Schmidt, right? And Peggy this year took on not only volunteer duties, but she also took on the tag team. And so she's responsible for making sure the right tags go on every one of those almost 3,000 flags. So, and then we have Supervisor Mary Mallory, sorry, who is Mary originally founded the Healing Field in Prescott Valley. So we're so grateful to her for this remembrance every year. So I'm gonna ask Mary to hand out, and Mayor, if you want to come down for a photo. So our third place winner this year is, let me make sure I have the right one, Allison Barney. So she's not here. Okay, so we'll get that to her. Our second place winner this year is Belle Mazon, if you want to hand that to her. And our first place winner is Haley Sandman. So there's a small monetary award and a certificate and a little gift from the Yavapai County Board of Supervisors as well. So I'm going to have Mary just say a couple words, and then we're going to have a picture with the mayor, and we'll be done.
Well, I want to thank all of you for participating in this essay. And, you know, what I always say is that we are the United States of America, and we are like a family. And when something happens to one of our other states, cities, or towns, we care about that. It's something that we need to remember. What happened that day can happen anytime. They were all just going to work. And you know, they just didn't finish that day. They didn't make it back home. And so every day is precious, and I am so thankful for these students and their participation, and the schools coming out also and bringing the kids. It's so important. You know, my husband and I, we started on this adventure. Now it's going to be the 12th year. And this was a community event. And when I say that, that's exactly what it still is today. For the town of Prescott Valley, for all of you, for joining in, for the young children that are coming up and getting that education and remembering. We need to remember each other. We need to be united. And you know what? We have a great community here in Yavapai County and in the town of Prescott Valley. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I appreciate all of you.
We're going to get some more people up here. You guys get to stand in the front.
Yeah, you guys can turn it.
Whoever, mom or dad, anyone else that wants to come down here. We're teachers. Okay, yeah, no, come on, no, come on. You guys are late to the party. Come on, yes.
Oh, one more.
Round of applause. Next up, call to the public. At this time, members of the public may comment on matters listed on the agenda or solely on matters within the jurisdiction of the town. Any persons wishing to address the council must register their name with the town clerk prior to the commencement of the meeting. The council's response is limited to responding to criticism, asking staff to review a matter commented upon, or asking that a matter be put on a future agenda. Such remarks shall be limited to 3 minutes unless additional time is granted by the mayor. And just like last time, everyone, if you haven't been here before, we're going to call 4 names up. There'll be 2 on one podium, 2 on the next, and we will go one by one for 3 minutes. At 2 minutes and 30 seconds, you will hear a ding, and then just like that. And then also, once it hits 3 minutes, the screen up top will go from green to orange to red, and at that point, your time is up. But as I mentioned last week, or last meeting, your time isn't up to speak to council or staff, and you can schedule a meeting anytime to speak with any of us about any other issues you may have that would involve a longer conversation. So with that being said, clerk?
So Bill Williams, Joanna Rollins, Randall Osberg, and Atilano Olivas.
All right, come on up, guys and gals. Ladies first. Which microphone? Whichever one you feel comfortable, sir. Just let's divide up evenly. Mr. Olivas, come on down. And as I mentioned, we'll go ladies first. Ma'am, you're up. Would you rather not go first?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I apologize. I'm just recovering off an MS attack, so my speech is a little bumbly at times, so I apologize. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know if it's due to an unfortunate oversight or lack of due diligence done prior to submitting the proposal for the project's build, but no one discovered that the terminus of Canyon Lane is private property. A resolution of abandonment for the width of the utility easement at the east end of Canyon Lane was declared by Resolution 505 by the Board of Supervisors of Yavapai County in 1982. In that resolution, it declared that the vacated portion of the street be vested to the adjacent properties. That is reflected in recorded deeds and surveys that are public record, which I can provide. So they are planning an emergency access and gate that transverses private property. That's a pretty big oversight. If the town were to intervene on behalf of the developer, a private entity, for the purpose of that private gated community, that would be a blatant violation of Prop 207. I feel that this information should be pointed out from the get-go, as it could shorten or eliminate any further discussion as to the reconsideration of this matter.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Williams?
Good evening. Bill Williams, longtime Arizona resident, longtime Prescott Valley resident, and a journalist. I've decided to not just bring a complaint each time. Rather, I will bring a complaint and a solution so we can learn from mistakes. I like this library, not just because my book about the 2008 murder in Williamson Valley is on the shelf. The librarians are great. There's a great bunch of meeting spaces, academic space. But the history of the construction is very troubling, and obviously it's still going on. And the troubling part could have been avoided. As we know, those of us that were here right after the grand opening, multiple stormwater roof leaks caused interior damage, endangered electrical equipment, damaged furniture and library materials, created mold. At least 10 hazardous conditions were stated in our town's lawsuit against the contractors. There was a 15-year saga that would not have happened if enough trained town staff were assigned to watch the contractors. That's your solution moving forward. If you do another capital expenditure of this size, you got to have enough people looking over their shoulders, and you didn't. As a former public information officer for ADOT, I can tell you our engineering meetings would have assigned 8 or more people to watch 12 contractors on a project of this size. In this case, this is a $15 million library that has turned into $18 million. The contractors did some fixes, but then found second floor lights which started smoking, overheating electrical rooms, repair to interior and exterior walkways that we all use to come into this room tonight. There was hydraulic repairs to an elevator and more. It seems if it was wrong from the get-go, the original architectural plan, that someone on the town should have caught that. The architect alone paid us back $1 million. There was a complete failure and non-performance of the roof, a wall, window, skylight, exterior cement panels. These details that I'm saying came right out of the town's lawsuit against the contractors. There were many subcontractors and numerous proposals on how to fix things all the way through 2014 and 2016. This started in 2008. Contractors refused to help, refused to fix. The town sued, and in September 2020, the parties settled over a bad deal that began in 2008. The settlement agreement for more than $6 million was signed off on by 12 contractors and subcontractors. Now, to their credit, Mayor Palguda and our town attorney pushed for the settlement and signed off on it. And we can't blame the current leadership because all the problems that led to this nightmare were made by the previous administration. Now you know how not to let it happen again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Olivas?
That's a good one. I'm going to speak about our water billing and metering and conservation. For 4 years since the city changed from mechanical to electronic meters, I got curious. I read the meters in my house. I signed in a complaint with the city, the St. Jacobs Engineering out there, and we did a drop test in my house. I repaired all my closets, toilets, and everything. When they did the drop test, they found no leakage. Yet, every year, I'm over 1 month in charging and billing the water. And this brings a suspicion because of you can't estimate and conserve water at 1,000. At the end of the year, and I have my paperwork here, my reader meeting, I'm over and charged $40 for water I don't use, I can't account for. The mechanical reader and electronic meter are 99.4% reading the same. Your spreadsheet on your electronic meter and billing can be opened and give another 3 decimals in there, get another 3 characters in there. You can bill at tenths of a thousandth of a gallon. People can understand if they have a water leakage, you're getting damage to their home, foundational or structural. If you guys don't change your billing, we're going to have to pull an audit on you. There's 24,000 meters estimated in the city of Prescott. That's $1.4 million I can't see. Anybody can do any math, can see it and estimate it. They can't check their homes. We can't determine how to conserve water if you people don't open up your spreadsheet and charge us water correctly, not estimating. This is horrendous. Big mistakes you guys are making. Don't challenge the public out here. The public can rise up against you and it'll be ugly. I'm not threatening you. I'm trying to work with you and help you to solve the problem. Now, at the end of this meeting or tomorrow, I can meet with the city manager and explain to him what I see. That I give closure.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Wadsworth is actually in the back. Mr. Olivas.
No, I'm here.
Mr. Olivas. Mr. Wadsworth is in the back corner there, and he can hopefully answer any of your water questions that you may have. Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir.
Randall Bossberg, 4800 North Tawago Circle. While the housing prices drop and the supply of homes for sale increases, the Paynes are asking residents of Prescott Valley to support attainable housing in proposed Lakeshore 650 project that will soon come to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The facts, we don't even know what attainable housing means in Prescott Valley. While a developer-led task force created by Mayor Palguda did submit a homegrown study last year, their SWOT analysis, number one weakness, missing demographic information to determine housing needs in Prescott Valley. In other words, we don't even know just how many people need attainable housing and what attainable housing is already available. Donna Kennedy, our new Director of Development Services, has stated that we don't have a shortage of housing, we have a shortage of well-paying jobs. In the meantime, it's good to remember that Arizona is one of 7 states in the U.S. that has a law that actually prohibits compelling developers to provide attainable housing. 2021 Arizona Revised Statutes Title 99461.16. What does this mean? It means that developers can announce their intent to provide attainable housing, but there's no legal way the town of Prescott Valley can compel them to do so. From a Prescott Times interview with Brad Payne of August 31st of 2023, in reference to obtainable, we want people who make between 80% and 120% of the gross median income can afford to live here. Who is that? That's your store manager, that's the manager of your favorite restaurant, that's a nurse, that's a teacher, a firefighter, a policeman, all those folks. Well, the Census Bureau states that Prescott Valley median household income is $60,033. The recommended amount someone should spend on a mortgage is 28% of their monthly gross income. That should put Payne's goal at $1,401 to $1,681 a month, not the $1,800 to $2,000 a month mortgage and lease stated by Brad Payne during this interview. And remember, you need to add all the fees and PV's 2% monthly surcharge on top of that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Clerk, we have 4 more.
So now we have Mike Schumacher, Patricia Betzold, William Franicki.
It should be kind of like The Price is Right. You guys should get excited. You should come down here, start yelling and hooting and hollering. Ms. Betzold, you're up first.
Okay. I'm Patricia Betzold, 3883 North Fairfax Road. I'm just here representing Stop Lakeshore 650. We want to caution the public Many folks out there, you're getting an iPhone message from the Fanes asking you to support attainable housing plan for Lakeshore 650. As I believe Randy was just stating, we want to be clear that attainable housing isn't guaranteed whether the contractor or the developer promises or not. But the message here is that we're looking forward to the new Director of Neighborhood Services, Stephanie Robinson, whose job it is to pin down what Prescott Valley's actual attainable housing needs are and what our current attainable housing portfolio already includes. Just remember that if you get that special quote, hello, so-and-so, this is Susan with the Fane Signature Group. We are reaching out to ask for your help to tell them, I suppose the town, or the public, why we need attainable housing. Please submit a letter of support. Please think it over carefully. This form letter does not give you the opportunity to say no. And again, we want folks to understand this is not the first time a developer has promised attainable housing, but when can you remember them ever delivering it? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir? Welcome.
Mayor Pro Temp and council members, I just really had a compliment on the Public Works Department. And this past week, I had noticed a road problem on Manley, the 7100 block of Manley, where the irrigation ditch had like washed away to the very edge of the road. And I was really happy to find out that I was able to come up to the Public Works Department. The lady there was very pleasant, you know, got me connected with the, my iPhone. And last time I did it, it was like a written form and things. So that was good. Nonetheless, she was pleasant. I got an immediate response on my phone. They told me a couple days later that they had taken care of the problem. And I checked it out today, and it was safely done because it was like a real precarious looking, washed out, and a 5-foot drop down to the base. So I just wanted to compliment the Public Works Department and the city in general. So
Good.
thank you.
Nice, sir. Thank you. No clap for that? No? Sir, welcome.
Hi there. I'd just like to thank the town, staff, mayor, manager. I moved up here in '86. Only one dirt road. One paved road, excuse me. But anyway, you guys must be doing something right with all the people moving here, then starting to complain about the growth. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Clerk?
No one else, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to council communications. I'll start on the end. Councilwoman Greer, anything?
Oops, excuse me. I'm looking forward to the State of the Town address on Tuesday at the Finley Center. I would invite people to come, except that it's sold out.
Councilwoman?
Just wanted to thank you for being here this evening. We attended a grand opening for the Central Arizona Prescott Valley Boys and Girls Club facility. They have remodeled. It is absolutely beautiful. And if you get an opportunity to visit this facility, I think that you will be pleasantly surprised. We, as a town, partnered with them with a couple of grants, and they have a beautiful paint job, beautiful audio-visual media facility. It is really a beautiful facility, and congratulations to the Central Arizona Boys and Girls Club.
Councilwoman?
I want to give a shout out to our police department, and I know Chief Ticer is here today as well, that they have given a little story in the news, and I don't know if can I have time to read this, Mayor?
Ma'am, you have all the time
Okay.
you'd like.
So it says, Prescott Valley ranks third safest city in Arizona. We're not talking just Yavapai County. We are now the third safest city in Arizona. In an October 2023 article from Property Club, Prescott Valley ranked third on the list of the 10 safest cities in Arizona. Prescott Valley is the only city in Yavapai County to make this distinguished list. With the town's population coming in at just under 47,000 residents, Prescott Valley is 65% safer than the average in Arizona, with a crime rate of 957 incidents for 100,000 people. Many factors contribute to Prescott Valley receiving this designation. The community has a proactive police department that believes in community-based policing, from the sworn personnel who patrol the streets to the professional staff who are always looking for programs to engage and educate members of the community. PVPD partners with citizens to tackle issues together. It is this collaborative effort, that has made Prescott Valley an amazing and safe place to live, work, and play. And I just want to give a shout out to our police department because it's an excellent job that they're doing, and I know they've been working hard. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Vice Mayor? Nothing? All right, moving on. Manager's report, Mr. Judy.
Nothing, sir.
All right. Item 7, consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the town council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Council, we've had a chance to review all the items in item 7. Here's your chance to remove something. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented by electronic vote.
I'll second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Sorry, I'm having computer problems. Councilmember Greer.
Aye.
Renee. Councilmember Hepperly.
Yes?
Councilmember Schumacher.
Yes.
Councilmember Dickinson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hunt.
Yes.
Mayor Polguda.
Yes.
That passes, Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on, item 8, old business, CMC 23-005, Addis Avenue duplex. Mr. Ruby, was there anything to, or I'm sorry, sir?
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. We have
Forgot
no further
you
comments
presented.
on this.
My apologies. Any additional questions for staff? We're just going to wait on clerk. Are we good?
Ordinance number 2023-933. An ordinance of the mayor and common council of the town of Prescott Valley, a municipal corporation of Arizona, amending the town zoning map ZMC 23-005 by changing the zoning classification of APN 103-35-188A 7565 East Addis Avenue, 0.14 acres, from C2 PAD, Commercial General Sales and Services, Planned Area Development zoning, to RS Residential and Services zoning for a residential duplex, and providing that this ordinance shall be effective 30 days after its passage and approval according to law.
Thank you, ma'am. Shall this ordinance pass?
Vice Mayor Hunt.
Oh, we're just going old school tonight,
Yes.
aren't we, huh?
Mayor Polguda,
Yes.
Councilmember Schumacher,
Yes.
Councilmember Hepperly,
Yes?
Councilmember Greer,
Yes.
and Councilmember Dickinson.
Yes.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to item 9, Community Development Block Grant Application. This is a public hearing, and we have Mr. Judy at the podium.
Mr. Mayor, I appreciate the opportunity to present before you once again. It is our turn to apply for community development block grants, as we've talked about before, as part of our partnership with the Northern Arizona Council of Governments and the Arizona Department of Housing. We receive funds every 4 years. Those are called regional account funds. We can also apply for competitive state special project CDBG funds every year. We've also discussed potentially moving into an entitlement status. That's where the town would automatically receive funds every year, and instead of working with the Arizona Department of Housing and NACOG, we would work directly with HUD. So this is the second public hearing that's required as part of the application process. For the use of CDBG funds, it has to serve one of three uses. It has to benefit at least 51% of people that are low to moderate income, eliminate slum or blight, or help with an urgent health hazard. So it can be used for 5 types of projects: public infrastructure, community facilities, housing, public services, or economic development. As part of the competitive state special projects application, there are some extra steps that the town will be required to complete. That includes an environmental assessment, complete design, and they only allow you to submit 1 project. So the town has been fortunate to receive, I think there's 9 state special projects in recent years, totaling almost $2.8 million and nearly $3 million in regional account funds, including the Boys and Girls Club that was mentioned earlier. So what we are proposing for the regional account funding is the second phase of Cattle Track street and sidewalk improvements. You can see the sidewalk ends. That's as much money as we had. We would like to finish that out. And for the state special projects account, we would like to submit funding for an accessible playground at Antelope Park. This is an example of what those could look like. These are just examples from other cities or renderings. To be considered for funding at the second public hearing, it has to have been mentioned at the first public hearing. So it's really just a decision on your part whether or not you want to move forward with these applications. So this is that second public hearing. You'll be selecting final projects, authorizing resolutions to submit the applications, and committing budget funds for next fiscal year as part of those applications. So there are 5 resolutions attached to this council action. Resolution 2354 authorizes staff to submit an application for the Cattle Track Sidewalk Project. Resolution 2355 authorizes staff to submit an application for the Antelope Park Playground. Resolution 2356 is an anti-displacement resolution. Whenever you're using federal funds for projects like these, if you displace anyone, you're required to assist them with finding new and additional housing. We will not be displacing anybody with these projects, so this is just a formality. Resolution 2357 authorizes the town to commit up to $700,000 in matching funds. That would match the $800,000 in grant funds for the Cattle Track Sidewalk Project. And that's something that we will be determining throughout the next couple of months as part of our budget process. And Resolution 2358 would commit the town to spend an additional $100,000 in town general fund for the Antelope Park Playground Project. What that does is that gives the town additional points towards the competitive application. So it helps us. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Before we get to any council comments, anyone out in the audience who wishes to speak in regards to this item?
There's no one registered, Mayor.
No one signed up? But doesn't mean you can't raise your hand right now if you'd like. Being said, Mr. Judy, great job with this. The first project, the first portion of the sidewalk is, used literally every day. I see people, whenever I drive by, utilizing it, and it's so important, especially for that area. And then in regards to the playground equipment, can't say enough about that. Adding to our playground equipment, which sometimes has been neglected in the past years, but as of recently, we've been doing a stellar job with that. So kudos to our parks team as well as staff for bringing that forward. Council, have anything else for Mr. Judy?
Ryan, where's the 700 coming from? I didn't hear you say that. 100 from general fund?
It would be for the Cattle Track Sidewalk. It would probably be a combination of funds from highway user revenue funds, capital project funds. We'll be determining that over the next couple of months.
Thank you.
Anything else for Mr. Judy? I'm going to close the public hearing. And we'll be moving on to item 9B, which will be an actual entertaining a motion, unless Mr. Judy wants to say anything else.
Nothing further, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign resolution numbers 2024 through 2354, 2024 through 2355, 2024 through 2356, 2024 through 2357, and 2024-2358, authorizing submission of grant applications for Cattle Track Drive sidewalk improvements and Antelope Park accessible playground improvements adopting an anti-displacement policy, and providing matching funds by electronic vote.
I second it.
Clerk, please call the vote.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, item 9C, Navajo Build to Rent, CMC 23-003. Mr. Ruby, welcome. And this is also a public hearing, which I'll be opening at this point.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, the item before you is a zone map change from the 1990 annexation zoning of RCU 18. The project applicant is asking to change that zoning from that original zoning that came in from the county to an RS pad. The site is located just south of State Route 69 and south of the Navajo and East Ridge intersection. You can see here for the site. It was originally, as I said, brought into the town in 1990 via Ordinance 244, which brought that in. The site lies in Growth Tier 1 of our general plan, Pad 1 of Growth Tier 1 of the voter-approved 2035 Prescott Valley General Plan. And it has land uses identified as commercial, industrial, medium high density, residential, and open space. Now, this particular site is located along the Navajo extension. As you can see from the overhead, the pad is located adjacent to the mobile home park to the west. It is surrounded by commercial land uses and vacant land. And the site, again, is part of our general plan. It goes back in time, back to the annexation as to what this would be as it was rezoned to the multiple uses that are allowed under the Pad 1 designation. This particular site would be bisected by the Navajo Drive extension. As you can see here, it kind of creates two different parcels. One is an outline remainder parcel to the east. It's about 2.9 acres. The site to the west where this project will be located, if approved, is about 15.8 acres. The density on the project is approximately 10 units per acre based on the site that you see, the 15.8 acres. Our general plan calls out medium to high density as anything between 8.1 and 15 units per acre. So it's at the lower end of our medium high density designation. This particular site is kind of a difficult site. It physically, the site slopes from the northwest to the southeast with gradually increasing slopes and carries stormwater to Lynx Creek to the south. The site, as I mentioned earlier, is bound by commercial development to the north, residential services to the north, a single-family mobile home residential community to the west, and vacant undeveloped land to the south. The site will be bisected by Navajo Drive, as I mentioned. The applicant will be required to build out Navajo Drive, half-street improvements, all the way down to the end of their site on the south with a turn-in lane and dual lanes heading into the project. The project will have an emergency-only crash gate that runs on Canyon Lane through the mobile home park into this site. Again, it's emergency access only that the fire department required for access to the site in case of an emergency. As part of applying for a planned area development, the applicant was required to also submit a plan development or preliminary development plan. That preliminary development plan consists of 153 residential units consisting of a mix of it's a contemporary cottage, one-story design with one bedroom attached, two bedroom attached and detached, and three bedroom detached units. Site access will be provided via the main access drive on Navajo Drive, approximately 575 feet south of the East Ridge intersection. As I mentioned, emergency access will be provided through the existing adjacent development, again, only for emergency access. The emergency access will be gated at all time and available via Knox box to the fire department. A traffic impact analysis has been performed for this project, and it indicates that on a typical weekday, an estimated 74 trips would be generated in the morning AM peak hour and approximately 88 trips in the evening PM peak hour, and a total of 1,115 total trips in a 24-hour period. The TIA has been reviewed with additional comments from the Arizona Department of Transportation, the town engineer, and the town traffic engineer. A neighborhood meeting was held on this project back in January, actually January 25th of 2023, and all owners within 1,000 feet were notified via first-class mail. There were 42 participants at the neighborhood meeting, and questions ranged from traffic impacts to water usage. On January 8th, 2024, ZMC 23003, the subject of this hearing, and PDP 23-003 were heard and presented to the Prescott Valley Planning and Zoning Commission. After the public hearing, where there was considerable discussion by the commission members, and even though staff had spoken in favor of the application at the time, the commission voted 4-1 to recommend denial of the zone map change. In addition, on a separate vote, the commission voted 3-2 to deny the preliminary development plan. In a letter dated January 11th of this year, a legal representative of the applicant not only encouraged the council to approve this zone map change, but also to formally approve the denial of the preliminary development plan by the Planning Commission. And that would be pursuant to Town Code 13-19-060F. Therefore, a separate hearing has been scheduled for the council to consider whether the commission denial of the PDP was correct. After the town council has held its own public hearing, which we're doing now, it will independently determine whether to approve the proposed zone change with any other conditions that may be imposed. If it determines to do so, then a vote to read the ordinance 2024-934 by title only on 2 separate occasions, then place the same on final passage upon the mayor's recommendation. So just a note, in addition to the separate public hearing on whether PDP, as revised by the applicant, should be approved, scheduled as a separate agenda item in this meeting, ZMC 23-003 is ultimately approved, and consideration of a future final development plan will come before the council with any conditions, stipulations, or anything the council may impose. At this time, staff is ultimately recommending approval of zone map change 23-003. And I'd be glad to answer any questions if you have them. This is the layout, a conceptual site plan of the site. It shows the roadway improvements on Navajo. They will be half-street improvements all the way down to the southern border of this property. It will also be landscaped. The landscape on the site itself, where the town requires by code 10%, they are at approximately 19 to 20% of open space. That excludes some of the things that were brought up at the Planning and Zoning Commission with people questioning whether backyards were included in the open space. They are not. The project has also been required to have 50 square foot of outside storage for each unit. That has been provided. There are several amenities on the site, including a dog park, ramadas, things of that nature. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have. The applicant's representative is here. If you would like to hear from them, I would defer to them for any detailed questions on the project.
All right, Mr. Ruby, we're going to give you a little bit of a break, and we're going to open it up to the public, because here's your opportunity for those that wish to speak on this item.
I have Joanna Rollins, Tim Reynolds, Bill Williams, and Keith Block.
Welcome, everyone. Ma'am, you're up again.
Okay, when the Planning and Zoning Commission heard this proposal for these projects, and that's the exact term the developer used at the neighborhood meeting when referring to this project, the commission had valid reasons for not approving it. There were no cries from the crowd of disappointment. The only negative response to the vote was a silent exit taken by the proposal team. You could feel the energy in the room shift to one of relief and gratitude. You know why? Because we don't want this build as submitted for various reasons, all valid and relevant. To list them all would be a monumental task. Bottom line, it is incompatible with the surrounding uses for a change in the zoning as the proposed use, build to rent. Isn't adding a new option for a diverse variety in housing choices, or it isn't adding a new option for a diverse variety in housing choices. It is yet another redundant build to rent that is overtaking the area. What would make Prescott Valley stand out from the rest is by utilizing a strategy from the Attainable Housing Task Force report, partnering with financial institutions to develop a local loan pool to offer loans that bundle the cost of land and the cost of the manufactured home, and owning the land would no longer be a barrier. Neighborhoods similar to the Northridge, manufactured homes on land owned by the resident, property taxes we paid every year compared to the 2% rent surcharge that ends at the end of 2024. Anyways, it also gives people the pride of ownership, and they are not going to be moving out after a year. It builds community. The strength of a town is residents within the community. A town that invests in the residents of its community builds the strength of its community. This will be a win-win for everybody. Let's see. That can't happen with a zoning change or by yet another BTR going in. And there's a lot of concerns about the proposed project, namely the developer referring to them as the projects. And this is the area that would be targeted for putting development like that into. It's an older area of town that doesn't get any attention. It's neglected. It gets none of the CIP funds, nothing. We get none of the projects or upgrades. So that's all.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir?
Tim Reynolds. I'm not going to address an opinion for or against. I'm going to voice an opinion about procedures. Is Prescott Valley going to become the wild, wild west of development? This is not the first project to receive a negative vote from planning and zoning and then immediately appealed to the city council. You have voted to overturn planning and zoning concerns and their no vote in the past, just last year. If you vote yes again on this project, you are making a joke of your planning and zoning commission. Members, I should say. This developer should take the concerns of planning and zoning, address them, and then resubmit to the city and the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is what the City Planning and Zoning Commission told them to do. Why have a Planning and Zoning Commission if developers have learned to ignore planning and zoning? A no vote from them means you just appeal directly to the City Council, and magically 2 weeks later, you can get a favorable vote. If you vote yes, I truly submit in the near future, the council should consider disbanding planning and zoning as an unnecessary commission so that these volunteers are not wasting their time. This is your commission. You selected them. So it's up to you to treat them as you wish. After all, they are just volunteers looking out for the best interest of the community. If you keep kicking them in the shin for their analytical decisions a developer does not like, pretty soon you don't have to kick them anymore. They'll just leave. This process of immediate review by City Council should be a rare abuse of the procedures and never on a first-time denial given to a developer. Send the developer back to the planning process. Again, these volunteers are yours. You appointed them. and treat them as you like.
Bill
Mr. Williams?
Williams and Keith Block, please step to the podium.
Hi there, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. Bill Williams back to speak about the 2750 Navajo Road Development Plan. The Planning and Zoning Commission on December 8th voted this down. The Vice Chair even remarked on the 1,115 in and outs of cars per day estimated. And Commissioner Bordone was questioning the high density, which would be next door to an already high-density group of dwellings. I'm not against all growth. Prescott Valley is known as a great place. So there will be growth. I'm advocating for sensible growth and smart growth. But I see fast-tracking of build-to-rents by town staff. Tonight, 156 build-to-rent multifamily units could be rubber-stamped, but I don't want you to do that. The project will be south on Navajo from 69, as Mr. Ruby said, but what he didn't say is there's a lot of traffic there. As Commissioner Evans questioned the developer regarding the 1,115 daily trips just from his properties. Someone joked at the microphone at that planning and zoning meeting, are these people all Uber Eats drivers? Our police know of this project area as a crime zone. Gunplay happened a couple months ago near there and shut down the traffic for hours. And that was during the day. There's already a plan to build a gas station and convenience store across the street. If so, someone has to put up 4 stop signs, monitor traffic, and eventually install a traffic light. Trust me, you don't want to anger customers coming from Sun Valley Tire, Auto Works, Tractor Supply, the post office, the Prescott Courier property, the hotel, but you will anger them if this project brings gridlock. Also, will it be attainable and affordable, or like all the other high-dollar build-to-rents, as an earlier speaker said? We've never been given a definition of attainable and affordable. The root of the problem is in town offices where employees appear to be told to fast-track these kinds of plans. I would like to know why fast-tracking is happening, Mayor. And we need to ask developers, how is this plan good for local businesses and the adults and children already living here? If they can't answer that, don't vote on the zoning or the plan. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir. Block, you're up.
Good evening. First of all, I've noticed that actually in the meeting, was it a week and a half ago, the P&Z meeting, I didn't see anybody from the manufactured home community on the west side of this new development. In particular, with people on Mountain View Drive and Canyon Drive. Are any of these people out here tonight? Okay, well, at least they showed up. I think this is a very dense development, surrounded by commercial development and the yet-to-be QT gas station, which isn't even built there yet. The QT station is probably going to be open 24 hours a day, I would think. And also very close to a very busy State Route 69. Also, how much rental housing do we need in town here? I mean, this is going to be all build to rental housing. We already have that massive rental housing going up across from Finley Center. The yet to be finished Florentine and Navajo apartment complex. All the apartment complex across the street, those green buildings, and then yet to be built villas in Prescott Valley. And these are all market rate, rentals. Who can afford these rentals? 2 bedrooms are what? 1 bedroom's $1,800. A 2-bedroom is what? $2,000, $2,200. How many rental units are being built right now in Prescott Valley? Does anybody know that? And second, and also this is basically this planned complex is another build to rent. I thought the town was changing their mind on build to rent. Wasn't that going to be coming to an end?
I'm sorry, sir. We're not.
I thought the town was changing their mind. The city attorney had spoke with town council about that, and build to rent was going to be coming to an end.
That's not necessarily accurate, and we can have staff address that. But at this time, sir, it's just
Okay.
for your opportunity to speak to the council.
Okay, and anyway, I think this particular property, I think would be much better suited for commercial. It's surrounded by commercial, and you're gonna stick all this residential stuff in the middle of all this commercial unit. Residential and commercial really don't mix. Please vote no on this.
Thank you, sir.
Zachary Nihapali and Patricia Betzel.
Welcome, sir.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, Council.
Hang on a second. Why don't we let Ms. Betchel go first? Ladies first.
Okay. Okay, so we've heard today that the town staff still supports this project. Many of us thought that the Planning and Zoning Commission did a good job of highlighting the lengthy list of issues with this development earlier this month and voted against proceeding with it. I won't go through that list, it's way too long, but it is part of public record. But please note that town staff has not represented those issues here today. He only addressed a couple of those, especially not the safety issues. So I have major concerns remaining. Number one, why did the town staff accept these conditions and bring this project to Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, recommending approval when there were so many issues with this project and lack of sign-off from our life safety department? Secondly, the real danger to the public, the people who would rent these units, is one of public health and safety, exposure to the adverse effects and nuisance of the existing mining operation that is only 4,200 feet away. The dangers of silica dust have been exposed on nationwide television just 2 weeks ago. CBS Sunday Morning Show, our Attorney General, Chris Mayers, filed a complaint in Maricopa County Superior Court alleging proposed mine in residential neighborhoods violates Arizona law. And we have to consider that there are no stipulations that can address that issue because it's an issue of geography. Is there a major threat to PV due to possible lawsuits as well as the developer? Under the Arizona Property Rights Protection Act, Part A protects property owners from laws enacted after property is purchased that would reduce their property values, but Part B states that this statute does not apply to land use laws that limit or prohibit a use for the protection of the public's health and safety. And secondly, uses recognized as a public nuisance. For the town of Prescott Valley, there is no plausible deniability. You can't ignore the facts about these dangers. So what's going to happen? The other issue is that there is a concern about the intent to use renters as a buffer, and I quote from the General Plan 2035, between existing industrial and commercial uses and the future Stone Ridge residential. We recommend the Town Council not approve this application based on the Planning and Zoning Commission issues as well as mining. In addition, we request the town prepare and pass an ordinance citing mining as both a public and health safety risk, a nuisance, and establishes that any housing of any kind shall not be constructed within a mine's vicinity. And conversely, that a mine cannot be constructed in the vicinity of housing.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir? Welcome.
Well, thank you. My name is Zachary Nihipali. I represent America's Best Value Inn that's north of the project. I'm located on 8383 State Route 69. This project is going to directly affect my business that I just got into this year. For one, traffic. Traffic is going to be horrendous. I mean, traffic is already bad in that intersection on Highway 69 and Navajo. Increased traffic or not bettering the streets in that area is going to create havoc. And as mentioned, attainable housing, that is going to be, it's a bad location for it. They're going to be trapped in one little section. All the traffic is going to probably back up into my property and my business. there is increase in crime activity in the area, just like Bill mentioned about the shooting that was right next door to my business. I'm not, well, a little history. I came from California. I came from a big town. I came from a city that had a lot of low-income attainable housing. It creates a lot of problems. I mean, kudos to our police department. I mean, I love them. But increasing affordable housing is going to increase crime in the area. I've worked in San Bernardino County, which was at one time the 5th largest crime area in the nation. I've done a lot of criminal, my background is in security for healthcare. So I've seen what could happen if you grow these areas in that fast, pace that everybody wants to grow, but there's a right way of growing. I mean, it kind of scares me because I left that area to come to a better area, but this is like a stepping stone to disaster in this area. But I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming out, sir. Is there anyone else?
No one else, Mayor.
All right, at this time, I believe the applicant is here, or the applicant's representative. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Ashley Marsh with Gamage and Burnham, 40 North Central, for your records. Appreciate an opportunity to address you about these two applications tonight. And before we go into some of the specifics, I wanted to introduce Rochelle Stroll here with me this evening. She is the property owner and developer with Capital Development Group. And I just wanted to give her an opportunity to tell you more a little bit about her and her development company, and then we'll dive into some specifics about our applications before you this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, fellow Prescott Valley owners. I'm here and I'm not going to waste a lot of your time. I think part of me just wants to stand here because it's taken 3 years to get here. And I'd heard fast tracking. We have been working on this for 3 years. The site plan that you're seeing is number 7. So we have gone through 7 iterations while listening to what everybody's looking for. I want you guys to understand that this land was purchased as a passion project from me and my group. My brother moved here. I'm from South Dakota. My brother moved up here with my 2 nephews, my only brother and 2 nephews, and my sister-in-law to live in a wonderful place. When we looked to come up here, looked to come up here to build what you asked for. When we came and met the city 3 years ago, they said, please build nice housing. Please make it beautiful. Please make it nice. Please make it family friendly. I understand that build for rents and some of them are not built the way that people love, but we love ours. And I think that people have to give it a chance. It has green areas, parks. It's guarded and gated. We have on-site security. You talk about worries. We have on-site people that live there. We build communities. We build these things to create family areas. We want to build better places to live. This is what we were asked for. We develop multiple things. We develop retail. We master plan communities. This is what we were asked for. This is what we built, and we're very, very proud of it. But we didn't fast track it. This has been 3 years of my life. I built it because I wanted my family that's up here to be part of this. And sadly, it's taken so long that one of my nephews has moved, but the other one goes to Yavapai College. 2 of my staff members, or teammates, I should say, his grandmother lives up here and mother lives up here. I love it up here. We really believe that what we're doing is bringing you housing, and we're bringing you housing that we were asked for. And it is green, and it is beautiful, and we have dog parks, and I believe that everywhere we've gone, we've slowed down crime. We are lit, we are gated, and we have people there. I understand the fear of growth. I understand things that people don't like, but you need housing, and you need nicer than crap housing. And if you don't want housing and you have people that don't have houses, nothing good happens. Nothing good happens when people don't have a place to live. We hope we are bringing to you what you hope for. Again, 3 years of work. We really love it here, and we hope we're giving you what you'd asked for. Now, when it comes to the details, you need the smart person. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Again, Ashley Marsh with Gamage and Burnham, and thank you, Ms. Stroll, for sharing that we are here in front of you with two applications that are 3 years in the process. That is not an exaggeration. The group before you started talking to the town in 2020. It is 2024. And so this has been a long process, site plan number 7. The two requests, just to make sure we're crystal clear on those, are for the zoning, and that is for the property outlined in black, and then for the PDP, which is that property outlined in red. So zoning, one parcel, and then presenting a PDP to you in that red outlined property. Again, Mr. Ruby did a good job explaining that this particular site and proposal is in lockstep with your general plan that was passed in November 2022. So just a year ago, give or take. Your general plan calls for a community like the one we're presenting here from 8 to 15 dwelling units per acre. Our proposal at 10 dwelling units per acre just for the site plan, I know there's some confusion which we'll walk through too on how to calculate that density, isn't the short end of what that pad growth tier 1 growth tier 1 pad 1 calls for. So we are in lockstep with what the town has already approved in its general plan for what it wants to see in this area, in this particular parcel. Density like this is good planning. It is a transitional piece between commercial to the north to the mobile home neighbors, which have a little bit more density as well, and then more planned higher density to the south of us. So a community such as this, again, honors your general plan, and it is good planning in lockstep with what you have for a vision for your town. The zoning, again, is compatible with what's already proposed here. This map shows, again, our site outlined in the red, adjacent to commercial, adjacent to RS pad already in the area, and adjacent to that RCU 18, which we heard again was a placeholder for when that was annexed. But in lockstep with what already is in here with the hotel frontage, the medical office, the print shop, commercial uses next to a medium density product makes sense, good planning, consistent with your zoning. When you look at this site, and I know many of you are familiar with it, there are just several property constraints I want this council to be mindful of when you're talking about future development and what you would like to see here. And this site plan that we're putting in front of you and hope to have approved this evening takes into consideration these various constraints, right? You don't look at a piece of property and get to come up, an idea in the air and say, this is what's going to fit here, because there's a lot of geographic constraints that you need to consider when doing, again, good planning. Here on this specific site, there are multiple sewer easements which are outlined, and you can kind of see, I joke that it looks like my 2-year-old's coloring map, but that's kind of what it is here with all the different colors. But the red on the aerial is a sewer easement that can't be built over. So when you're looking at site planning the site, you have to take those red easements into consideration. Another big constraint on this site is the grade differential. There is a huge drop, and I'm sure you're all familiar with it when you go down Navajo, you see basically a canyon, for lack of a better description, but a huge drop that needs to be considered when you're looking at site planning the site. There is a significant wash corridor, which is outlined in that purple box. Our site plan lets nature be nature. We're not touching that wash corridor. We don't want to touch that wash corridor. Let nature be nature, but you need to consider that when you're looking at appropriate site planning and what makes sense for this site. And then again, Navajo Road, per your planning documents, is meant to be built out through this property. So when you follow those planning documents and you take into consideration what that ultimate build out is going to be, again, that is another constraint on the ultimate condition of this property. The proposal in front of you today is for 153 units built to rent community, and it is flush with great amenities, including gathering spaces, fire pits, outdoor exercise lawns, a gym, a dog park, ramadas, walking paths, lawn areas, a ride share pickup so that your Ubers, your deliveries can come to the front of the gated community, not get lost through the maze, and safely enter and exit. There are private garages. There is emergency-only access proposed at the southwest corner off Canyon Lane. There is a right-of-way easement in that area, but again, it's not proposed to be through access. It's a crash gate. God forbid either of those properties ever need to utilize that, but it is a crash gate only, not through access proposed there. Another really key attribute to this specific proposal is that it is single story. By right, the development, the entitlements would be up to 35 feet. Here, we're talking about a single story community. So each one of these casitas limited in height, which is another great key feature. When we talk about the amenities, just wanted to highlight a few of those spaces for you. As you see, there's an illustration of what the pool amenity would look like. The dog park, that dog park is for unleashed, so gated, so you could have your dogs unleashed. The rest of the open spaces are available, to take your dog out for a walk to relieve itself. But the dog park is specific amenity, to have unleashed animal. There's active amenities throughout with the ramadas, as you see in these illustrations, and then the central amenities, which combination of turf and sod, artificial turf, and then sod where there's retention, right? So you collect the water, and those areas are sod. Again, this has been a 3-year process to get to you before this evening, and I just wanted to highlight a few of the site plan modifications that we've made in response to neighbor feedback and in response to working with your staff over the last 3 years, and point out a couple of things of where we started and where we are in front of you today. One of the big attributes to this site and big modifications were rotating the properties along the western perimeter, which you see outlined in purple. Those originally were faced so that the backyards were facing the community to our west. We've rotated those so that it's side facing. I think there's only maybe 2 units left that geographically couldn't be rotated, but the remainder have all been rotated in response to that community feedback. We've added 50 square feet of attached storage to each of the units responsive to your staff feedback. We have increased the length of Navajo driveway from 80 feet to 100, and that was to include also a dedicated decel lane into the community, which you see outlined in another purple box. And we added a drainage swale along the western perimeter, which creates a 20-foot setback between those properties as well. Since these modifications, we've listened to that feedback we did receive at Planning Commission, and we identified 5 areas where we thought additional improvements could be made and taken that feedback into heart. And so I'd just like to walk you through those now, and these are responsive to the Planning Commission feedback. I'd walk you through some open space calculations, wall treatment on the west, architectural embellishments where the trash locations are, and then again, let you know we did a TIA update. That was the main feedback we received a few weeks ago from Planning Commission. So to address the open space calculation, here we marked up our map so you can see where the open spaces are. Your ordinance requires 10% open space. The green spaces alone is a 20% open space calculation, so doubling your requirement. If you were to include the patio spaces on each of these homes, that is closer to a 30% open space. So either way you want to look at it, we are well above your ordinance. And again, these green spaces here, that's representative of 20% open space and some of the amenity that you saw. We also heard feedback on the wall treatment along the western perimeter. We had originally proposed a vinyl wall. We've since gone back to our engineers and are committed to doing a CMU, a block wall, along that western perimeter, again, responsive to that Planning Commission feedback. Here is a cross-section of what that might look like. You'll see our finished floor, a retaining wall, a swale, and then an additional CMU, and then there's another room for PUE. So that's what that 20 feet looks like between our units there. And just wanted to, again, reiterate commitment to doing a CMU block wall and how this really looks once we do that, because we do have to account for that extreme grade that we talked about. And here's a demonstration of how that works. We also got feedback from your Planning Commission about our architectural embellishments and how they would like to see additional features on the casitas. This is just one example, but we are committed to bringing additional architectural embellishments. On the left, you see the first. On the right, you see our revised renditions, adding additional stone veneer and popping out those windows through paint and materials. And this is another example of that enhanced architectural feature. We did receive feedback from your Planning Commission as well that there was some uncertainty on where the trash enclosures were on our site plan and making sure we had enough for the needs of this future community. To put any thoughts at ease about that, we do have to work with your engineers, your public works, make sure that all of those trash enclosures meet your codes. But just wanted to highlight where these are on our site plan. We have 12. There was a little bit of confusion if we had 2, how many we had, but as you'll see, there's plenty of trash enclosures dispersed throughout. Traffic is another theme that you heard tonight and we heard from your Planning Commission. Again, we have a professionally prepared traffic study. Our traffic engineer, Sarah Simpleton, is here tonight if you have any specific questions. Her study has been vetted through your town, through ADOT. It's been resubmitted. We understand that QT is coming in this area as well. We're in talks with them to make sure that these traffic studies align. They'll have to take our traffic into consideration. With respect to traffic, again, we will improve our frontage around Navajo. We've increased that length as well from 80 to 100 feet. We're only proposing secondary emergency access along Canyon, and the peak trips are much less than that of commercial or garden style. And these are the peak times that you would see, which is nominal for coming out onto Navajo and then up to the 69. Water, we're bringing our own water. I won't belabor that, but we're working within your town policy and the ordinance that your town passed recently. We understand your water policy, and individuals way smarter than I am are working on that to make sure we're bringing our water and working with your water department on that. Just a couple other tidbits on water. We have leak detection on each of the amenity areas, as do the units. We use native pants as much as possible. And again, we are working with your water folks as required under one of our stipulations to adhere to town policy. So conclusively, am I missing a slide here? There we go. Okay, conclusively, this is a great project that fits right in line, again, lockstep with your general plan, which was passed a year ago, requesting and advising, that this is the type of development you'd like to see in this area. It is an infill opportunity, as you showed you on your different maps. A lot of built out around us, and bringing an opportunity to develop a vacant lot in and of itself is a great way to deter any fear of crime. I think any police officer would tell you that they would prefer to patrol a vacant lot for something with occupancy and eyes on the street. It is providing a diverse housing mix with the 1 to 3 bedroom units. Again, it's single story. It is an opportunity to make sure we're adhering with your general plan, but not overbuilding for that site. Utilizing that oddly shaped property near that commercial corridor and in lockstep with your general plan. One thing that I walked through is a huge investment in the infrastructure. I talked a lot about Navajo, but we're also increasing the water line capacity in this area as part of that build out. We are happy to participate in a school donation to your HUSD, make sure that we are contributing some dollars to the school district as a good neighbor and a future participant. And we walked through a lot of the many on-site amenities. So we would appreciate support for this project that's been in the queue for 3 years, worked with your staff for 3 years on Site Plan 7, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have for me.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll just start off just with a couple, and then we'll probably circle back around and have a few more. But just reiterate again, we had someone mention the fast track of this. And I often say, government, we need to move more at the speed of business as opposed to the speed of government. Did you say it was 3 years since the first time you came to staff?
Mr. Mayor, correct. It's been 3 years, much to, I think, Mr. Earl's chagrin, but 3 years we've been working with your staff on Site Plan 7.
The fact that something came to this office 3 years ago and now we're hearing about it is literally the definition of the speed of government. So I just wanted to make sure I understood that. Vice Mayor?
I have one question for you, and then I have a a couple questions for Ernest. Can you explain to me what the middle, how did you phrase that?
The missing middle.
Middle.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, thank you very much for that question. So we are very excited about this opportunity because it is a missing middle, right? It is not a subsidized opportunity, which might be affordable, and it is not a luxury opportunity, which might be out of the reach for many people. So it's truly to address the missing middle, right? Someone that maybe makes too much to income qualify, but isn't looking for or can't afford a luxury product.
So that kind of sounds like our teachers.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, absolutely.
Thank you. Just while Ernest is coming up, I did some math, and our teachers, I'm told, make about 60 to 65,000 between salary and then the incentive pay that they get on the taxes. And I did the math, and well, first let me be transparent. We were asked to meet with the developer this week to learn more about the project. And I know myself and Lucy Leyva had an appointment with the two of you. And we did talk about some rent, maybe areas, and I know you need to do more market analysis. But from what you told me then and the math that I did, it sounds like even a single mom teacher could afford this. And I know they've had problems with other market rate apartments. So this missing middle sounds like it's something below market rate, maybe?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, we are very excited by the opportunity to offer, to your teachers. We will have market demand, right? If our complex isn't leasing, then there's going to be some natural adjustments because you can't have an empty community. So we are very excited to offer, again, this to the missing middle, not a little bit more than maybe subsidized, a little bit less than a luxury line, and I'm sure our teachers would be great tenants at this property.
I appreciate that. And I don't expect you to give me the price of the units right now, but I appreciate that you're going to focus on missing middle. Okay, Ernest, there was a reference by, I think, Patricia about CAFMA hasn't replied to this site plan.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, CAFMA has responded. Their comment was particularly about the emergency access, the crash gate on Canyon Lane. They had no other substantive comments about the project. It's not required to have sprinklers, for example. They will have adequate turning radius for all their equipment. We'll be able to get in and out. So that was the only CAFMA comment, was to make sure the secondary access was provided.
And the crash gate meets their requirement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And this is also a secondary access for the parcel to the property to the west.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, yes, it could serve as a secondary access for the park to the west in case there's anything there and they need to enter from this area.
Because currently they don't have one, I don't think, do they?
I believe they have two accesses on the frontage road, but this would be another emergency access.
Okay. And I think that was it for you. Thank you very much. I may have more comments, but that's it for me right now.
All right, Councilwoman?
So is this going to be for short-term rentals as well, or do they have like a signed lease per year?
Mayor, council member, thank you for that question. 1-year leases would be required.
Okay, and I know most people will stay longer once they get settled in. Are these, they're not furnished units, they can bring their own possessions, correct?
Mayor,
Putting them in.
Mayor, council member, correct. And our typical tenant is about 3 years, long-term residence.
And I know this may not be for everybody for what their needs are, but I know when we moved to town, we could not find a place to rent for the life of me while we were building our home. It was a challenge you cannot believe. When you put in 30 applications for housing rental and apartments and you have pets, it's a challenge. So I appreciate that you're dog friendly. I'm sure you're cat friendly at this point as well. And you never hear about cat parks, but we heard about one the other day. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, and thank you for taking the risk, because this is something that when you're a builder, you have to plan on that what your dream is and what you're going to put your money into, that it will be something that will be profitable at one point. But at the beginning, when you're building something, it is all loss. It's a big risk that what you're doing isn't going to go out of the parameters of what the budget is, of what you're planning on. There's a problem still with getting enough labor to do the project. Housing materials are still in question. Since COVID, it's been a challenge. So I appreciate that you're taking this on in our community to provide something that we desperately do still need. We have doctors that come here and we have their personnel. We have teachers that come here. They leave because they can't find a place to live. And that is sad. And we hear a lot of complaints that say people that they want us to stop with the building projects, but restaurants don't want to come here if we don't have enough rooftops. So restaurants and groceries, they're more likely to come when they see that there's a need, that people are getting filled for places to live. So not everybody can own a home, and a lot of people that own homes now want to leave their home and go into a rental because then there's no maintenance on their shoulders. So there's a lot of need for different things, and this may not be my style, it's not a mobile home park, it's not something that maybe I need, but I see the need for others who will want it. So I appreciate that you're doing 1 bedrooms to 3 bedrooms. You have a lot of kids here that go to college, and I know even at Embry-Riddle, if you're a freshman or a sophomore, you can get into housing, but you can't if you are a junior or senior. So what are your options if you want to rent and have a dog? Or, you know, if you want to get a roommate, you could do a 2-bedroom then. So this may not be what everybody wants or needs, but I appreciate that you are taking the risk. And I know by market value, you will adjust so that you do have a full project finished at completion, because that's the only time you're going to get a return on your money. In the meantime, you've put all the money up front in order to get it built. So I just want to say thank you for thinking of Prescott Valley and taking your risk here.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilwoman?
Thank you for your presentation. So to start off, I watched the planning and zoning meeting presentation the other evening and listened carefully. I watched it 2-3 times. And then I went out to the property and looked it over, both on our side, on the north side, and then I went over to Stone Ridge and drove down Old Black Canyon Highway and got out several times and looked at the property coming back this way. Then I asked a few pertinent questions with reference to a question that was brought up at the Planning and Zoning Commission about Stone Ridge possibly continuing to develop. And it was mentioned, Ernest mentioned that at one point in time, they were considering building a bridge from the end of Navajo over to Old Black Canyon. But that is a kind of, at this point in time, very, very expensive, kind of something that, from what I understand, was really just an idea. So the possibility of building Navajo out from the end of the property where you are building doesn't sound like it's going to happen. So am I correct in this, Ernest? To address that.
I'm sorry, ma'am, what was the question?
To address that.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it was a question that came up at the planning.
Our 2035 general plan designates Navajo Drive as a minor arterial, meaning it would have 100-foot right-of-way, and it is designated to go down and into Old Black Canyon. The timing of that, I really don't have my crystal ball with me. I couldn't tell you what the timing was. It's in the distant future, but according to our general plan, which we follow, it is a minor arterial, and it is designated as such. So that's why we had to talk to the developer to make sure that we allowed for future growth if it ever happens, and that could be extended. It would be quite a bridge that would be necessary to do that, but it is, from an engineering standpoint, could be done. Cost-wise, probably not in the near future. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, yes. So I wanted the audience to know that I'm speaking from a point where I did my research. And I also went over to the mobile home area, and I drove through there as well. And I thought about the question of crime that was brought up, and I could only see the benefit of having a lighted community helping our police to monitor any kind of situation that might occur over there. But it could only improve that area. And as far as I have lived here close to 30 years, I've used that post office and Sun Valley Auto. Don Auto, was a good friend. I have, I've driven around the hotel there, the America's Best Value Inn. I use that all the time to go out onto Navajo. And I can understand what you're thinking, but I have used that Canyon therapy place there. The parking is really kind of cramped when they have a full schedule. And, but I don't see the gridlock happening. From what I understand now, the gated portion is between the two developments. Will the front part also be gated?
Mayor, council member, yes, it is a gated community.
Okay, so it's a gated community. And so this is going to be a huge improvement to this area. I can only see good value added to this with a number of benefits. Another thing that was brought up that at the planning and zoning was, were there any retaining basins for runoff on that property, since it is gravity, the water is controlled by gravity. And it was explained to me that each of the parks have been designed specifically to be similar to what, maybe not as deep as Bob Edwards Park, but could somebody address that and share a little bit about that?
Mayor, council member, I am not a PE, although I've worked with enough professional engineers to be dangerous, but not necessarily professional in that sense, not on my stamp. But yes, all of those retention areas are designed to hold retention, to hold water. And as I mentioned, there is a huge swale that we're not touching. And that is partly to consider those grading conditions on that property and let nature be nature. So we have on-site retention, and then we are also making sure to stay far away from that swale on the southwest.
So also, planning and zoning always has a statement at the very beginning that they are advisors to town council and bring recommendations and possible changes. And we respect each and every one of them. They are interviewed by our council members, not all of us, but by a committee of council members. And we trust their opinions, and we value them. And from what I could see, one of the recommendations was to change out that vinyl fence that was to separate the two properties and make it a CMU, I think you referred to it, and a brick wall. Could you discuss that, please?
Mayor, Councilmember Dickinson, thank you for that question. Correct. We are removing that vinyl wall along the western property boundary and have provided a detail for you to consider, but we are improving it with the CMU block wall, responsive to that Planning Commission feedback, and have a small detail just to confirm that. We've talked to our engineers and we can make it work.
So you complied to that recommendation and request. And so this, to me, it's less than 20 acres. It's only a little over 150 units, single level units. And nearby is a beautiful church on the same side of the road, within walking distance. We have a couple of retail facilities there within walking distance. Also, it's animal friendly. I'm assuming you can have cats as well as dogs there. And a place where you can purchase, products for the animals. The Quick Trip will appreciate the people that live here in this development. They will provide customers, and it will be a good exchange there. Visitors and company who come, family members, will stay at best value. And we can only see that when, and I know you've all experienced this, when somebody comes into the neighborhood and starts dressing up their yard, putting in nice driveways and putting in nice landscaping, all of a sudden it's like, what can I do to improve my property? Maybe a nice paint job, maybe an additional flower, rose bush here or there, just to not necessarily compete, but to just pride of ownership. And I see this happening in that area. And so I, right at this point in time, those are my comments and what I came up with. I've thought very, very hard about this. I've considered comments from all of you at that planning and zoning on both sides. And I feel that to me, this would be a good value for our community.
Councilwoman? Ma'am, can you address, I think there was a concern by one of the speakers in regards to, it's been referred to as projects. Can you just clarify that as it is? I took it as this is a project, not as this is going to be the projects. But could you?
Mayor, thank you
clarify?
for that question. Correct. A development project, a proposal is what we meant, not anything, a lesser quality or that could be took in that vernacular, but a development proposal, a development project.
Vice Mayor?
I want to thank the developer for addressing, I too watched the Planning and Zoning Commission and then followed up with staff with several of my own comments. I want to thank the developers for addressing everything that I saw in the Planning and Zoning Commission and much of my questions, including the school district fee and the attention to that missing middle. The reason why I will be voting yes on this project is because it is designated on our general plan for multifamily, and that is between 8 and 15. And this project is 10, so it's on the lower level of the density. And the general plan is our guiding document, if you can picture that. The general plan is a guiding document. It gets changed every 10 years, subject to approval by the residents that vote on it. We only make a recommendation. And then we're only allowed to change that one time a year, whereas the zoning then is required to be brought in consistent with the overriding guiding document of the general plan, and the zoning can be changed multiple times a year. So in my mind, the residents that voted on this general plan realized that that was a multifamily designation. So between that, consistency with our general plan, addressing the missing middle, and the school district contribution, which Ivan, do we need to put that in the conditions?
Mr. Mayor and Vice Mayor, it's actually in the ordinance. It's not a condition, but there is a reference to it.
For the school district?
Yes.
So we will be requiring that payment prior to the issuance of a building permit. Okay. And then the other thing that I am grateful for is that you are complying with the cause requirement in here, and that you will be getting a certificate of assured water supply. Yeah, the cause. So thank you in addition for that.
Council, we have anything else for staff or the presenter? I'm going to close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to ordinance number 2024-934 by title only on two separate occasions, then place the same on final passage.
I'll make a second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Mayor, that passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, I'm sorry, go ahead. Your show.
Ordinance number 2024-934. An ordinance of the mayor and common council of the town of Prescott Valley, a municipal corporation of Arizona, amending the town zoning map CMC 23-3 for the Navajo Drive built-to-rent project located at the intersection of Navajo Drive and East Ridge Drive from RCU 18, residential single-family rural, to RSPAD, Residential and Services Planned Area Development zoning, and providing that this ordinance shall be effective 30 days after its passage and approval according to law.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, item 9D, PDP 23-003, Navajo Drive, built to rent, consideration and possible action. Mr. Ruby, you're here again, and this is also opening up the public hearing. Anything to add, sir, from your previous presentation?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, just a couple of things to add. One is we are still tweaking, if you will, the preliminary development plan into the final development plan, which will come before the council at a later date. There's a couple of things with utilities, with that sewer line, that we have found out that there may need to be some adjustments, if you will, on the building placements and their foundations. So we're taking a look at those things through our utilities and public works departments. And as you know, there's an ability between the PDP and the FDP for those minor changes. I don't believe there will be any major changes, but we will continue to monitor that. In addition to that, we have I believe one of the council members mentioned the QT, the Quick Trip that's going to be located at 69 in Navajo. We have actually had a request from QT. They're modifying their final development plan slightly. They're dropping the over-the-road truck traffic fueling, so that will eliminate some of that traffic in that area. But we've also put that traffic engineer in touch with the Navajo engineers so they can coordinate their traffic impact analysis to see what changes, if necessary, need to be made, and if there are any improvements on 69 in Navajo that occur. And I'd be glad to answer any questions if you have them, or I can go into more detail if you like.
Just hang on. As I mentioned, this is a public hearing. Clerk?
There's no one registered, Mayor.
Anyone who might not have registered wish to speak at this moment? Yes, ma'am. Just be advised, ma'am, it has to be about this item, okay?
Yes. 3 minutes?
Sure.
Okay. So Patricia Betzel again. So a little bit of education about our general plan 2035. Understand that in the general plan 2035, it states, quote, land where surrounding and existing conditions did not dictate specific land uses were designated as planned area developments, PADs. What does that mean? The designation of this property and all the properties on the land use plan, the planned area development was used as a placeholder. And again, I quote, by designating property as a PAD or village PAD, the land use plan provides a greater degree of flexibility by allowing more detailed land use planning, more planning, not just high density, to occur in the future to reflect unforeseen market conditions, community values, environmental conditions, and so forth. This alternative to conventional zoning is intended to encourage innovations.
You're just speaking on just this Navajo, this project right here. Just this
Yes.
specific one.
Yes, which is designated as a village pad on the land use plan.
No, we already voted on the rezone, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, then what are we talking about on Navajo then?
That's okay. Do you have anything else to add, ma'am?
No, because I don't understand that I'm off topic. But okay, I'll bring it up at another meeting. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else?
I realize I already spoke, but I need to clarify something. We respect the fact that the developer took 3 years of thought on this. That's not what fast tracking is. There's something going on amongst town staff.
Thank you, sir. Again, this has nothing to do with this specific item.
Yes, it does.
Thank you, sir. Clerk, is there anyone else that wishes to speak?
That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you, sir.
That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you, Mr.
Pardon?
Williams.
Why did you cut me off? I'm talking about the topic.
Clerk, is there anyone else?
There's no one else registered, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone, the applicant, wish to add anything for this? Any other questions for staff? Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
So we're not talking about apartment, the Navajo deal anymore? We're not talking about Navajo anymore?
What we are, not the specific project, though. Mr. Legler, you want to add what specifically we are so they get a legal definition?
We've already discussed the zoning aspect of the case. What this is a very narrow issue related to the preliminary development plan. In fact, if I could explain, when we did the rezoning, under Arizona law, the Planning and Zoning Commission provides recommendations. And so there was some concern that that may have actually been an appeal from a decision of the Planning and Zoning Commission. In fact, whether the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval or disapproval, it automatically then goes to the town council. So it would have come to the town council tonight regardless. It wasn't an appeal that brought it to the town council. And so we've dealt with that issue in the zoning. Now this is a very narrow, there was an appeal of the preliminary development plan because the Planning and Zoning Commission actually voted to deny the PDP. And so all we're dealing with here is, will the council overturn that decision to deny the PDP? That will then leave the PDP in place so that eventually a final development plan can come to the council. So all we're dealing with is, should the Planning and Zoning Commission have denied the preliminary development plan for this project?
I had a quick comment about affordability. That's not part of this.
That's unfortunately, sir, not part of this. We're just really stuck in certain parameters, so. All right, with that being said, I'll close the public hearing. And I'll entertain a motion if we have nothing else for staff.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the revised preliminary development plan PDP 23-003 for the Navajo Drive Build to Rent project, subject to the conditions by electronic vote.
I second it.
Clerk, please call the vote.
That passes unanimous, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Clerk, please call the vote.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks, everyone, for coming out.